Hello student, this is Palla Darbari, your host, and you are watching Palla Darbari classes. In this video, we will discuss Chapter 2 Macroeconomics Class 12th Money and Banking. This is the third volume of the chapter Money and Banking. Let us discuss the component that we will discuss in this video. In this video, we will see the demand for money. We will discuss money supply, and we will discuss the types of money. Let us start the video with the definition demand for money. Demand for money is the sum total of transaction demand for money, precautionary demand for money, and speculative demand for money. That is, demand for money is the summation of transaction demand, precautionary demand, and speculative demand. Let us see what is transaction motive for demand for money. We all incur some or other expenditure every day to fulfill our daily requirements of life. So money spent or the money needed to meet out the daily requirement of life is the transactive motive. So we demand the money for the transactive motive. It means we demand the money so that we can meet out the daily requirements of life. The next is the precautionary demand for money. For future, we know that the future is uncertain. Sometimes people encounter certain unforeseen expenses such as medical emergencies, accident emergencies, etc. To meet out such emergencies, people require immediate cash. So keeping the money to meet out the future uncertainties is the precautionary demand for money. Now let us see the speculative demand for money. Beside cash, people also tend to hold wealth in the form of property, gold, bond, share, etc. The speculative demand for money refers to the demand for money that people hold as idle cash balance to speculate with the aim of earning capital gain and profit. In a very simple word, we can say that all the time people want to hold the money so that they can invest the money to multiply it to manifold. So demanding the money for the investment purpose so that they can earn profit is called speculative demand for money. Now let us see the supply of money. Supply of money refers to the total stock of money held by the people of an economy at a particular point of time. Generally, the monetary authority of an economy undertakes the task of issuing currency notes and coins. In India, the Reserve Bank of India and the Government of India together forms the monetary authority. In a very simple word, supply of money means the stock of money which the people is holding at a particular point of time in the form of currency, in the form of demand deposits. Let us see the components of money. The money is having two components. First one is called currency and the other one is called deposits. Currency means the currency note, coins as issued by the monetary authority of a country and the people in the economy is holding. And the demand deposits means the saving or the current account deposits held by the people in various commercial banks of a country. So the money is having two components, that is currency components and the demand deposits. The stock of money has the following two components. Let us see the things in detail. The first one is currency components. We have already discussed currency note, coins issued by the monetary authority held by the people. Deposit component means the saving or the current account held by the people in various commercial banks. It should be noted that the following items are excluded from the definition of the stock. Only these two components, that is the currency and the deposits, is considered under the stock of money. But certain items are excluded from the stock of money. Let us see the item which is excluded. The first item is the stock of money that is held by the government or by the central bank of a country. The stock of money which is being held by the government and the central bank is excluded from the supply of money. The second is the money held by the commercial bank in a country is also excluded. Let us see the reason. The reason is the stock of money held by the Government of India, commercial banks and the RBI is not included in the stock. Why? Because these institutions themselves are the suppliers of the money. If they are holding the money, it means that they are not making the money flow in the country. They have restricted the flow of the money. Since they have restricted the flow of money by holding it, it means that the money which is not being in circulation will not be considered as the supply of money. These institutions are holding the money, they are not letting the money circulate in the economy, so it will be excluded from the stock of money. Let us see the measure of money supply. The legal definition of the money or the measure of the supply. The money supply is a stock variable. Why the money supply is a stock variable? Because it is being valued in terms of money. It is being valued according to the time factor. Since the supply of money is valued according to the time factor, so we consider supply of money as a stock variable. It refers to the total stock of money held or in circulation by the public of a country at a particular point of time. The various definitions of money supply in India as prescribed by the RBI are M1, M2, M3, M4. M1, M2, M3 and M4 is the definition prescribed by the RBI on the basis of the nature or on the basis of the liquidity. It is to be noted that M1, M2, M3 and M4 are arranged in the descending order of liquidity, that is M1 has the highest liquidity and M4 has the least liquidity. Now let us see M1. This measure of the money supply includes the following three components. M1 includes three components. It includes the currency held by the public in the form of note and coins. It includes the net demand deposits held by the commercial banks. It also includes the other deposits held by the RBI. Algebraically, M1 can be represented as C, DD or OD. C means currency held by the people, DD means net demand deposits and OD means other deposits held by the people. Let us see the other deposit held by the people comprises of. The other deposits held by the people comprises three components. Number 1, demand deposits of various public financial institutions held by the RBI. Demand deposits of foreign exchange or commercial banks. Demand deposits of foreign central banks and foreign government held by the RBI. And the demand deposits of international financial institutions such as World Bank, Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, International Monetary Fund, etc. Let us see M2. It includes all the components of M1 along with the components of saving of the people held with the post office. That is, M2 is equal to M1 plus saving of the people held with the post office. Let us see M3. It is the most commonly used measure of money supply. It includes all the components of M1 along with the net time deposits with the commercial banks. That is, M3 is equal to M1 plus net time deposit with the commercial bank. When I say time deposit, under it the recurring deposits and the fixed deposit comes. So M3 means M1 plus fixed deposits plus recurring deposits. It is to be noted that if the money supply is measured during the concept of M3, then we get an estimated of aggregate monetary resource of India. Let us see M4. In addition to all the components of M3, M4 also include the total deposits with the post office, excluding National Savings Certificate, that is NSC. M4 equal to M3 plus total deposits with the post office, excluding National Savings Certificate. Now let us discuss the narrow money and the broad money. If the money supply is measured using the concept of M1 and M2, then it is called the narrow money concept of money supply. The narrow definition of the money basically focuses on the primary function of the money, that is, money as a medium of exchange in the form of currency and demand deposits. It can be represented as C plus DD, where C represents currency held by the public and DD represents net demand deposits held by the commercial banks. On the other hand, if M3 and M4 measures are used to measure the money supply, then it is called broad money concept of money supply. Beside the primary functions, the broad definition of the money focuses on the secondary functions of money, that is, money as a store of value. This definition includes money that is held in the form of saving and net time deposits, besides currency and demand deposits. Therefore, the broad definition of the money can be represented as MB equal to C plus DD plus SD plus TD, whereas MB represents the broad definition of money, C represents the currency held by the public, DD represents net demand deposits held by the commercial banks, SD represents saving deposits of the people held by the post office, TD represents net time deposits with the commercial banks. Now let us see the types of money. There are 10 types of the money. The first one is full-bodied money, second is representative money, third is fiat money, fourth is standard money, fifth is token money, sixth is bank money, seventh is money of account, eighth is legal tender, ninth is paper money, and the 10th is fiduciary money. Let us discuss all the types of the money in detail. The first one is full-bodied money. In the case of the full-bodied money, the intrinsic value should be equal to the face value. The question is, what is intrinsic value? The material value of the commodity is called intrinsic value. What I said? I said material value. In the case of the paper money, the price of the paper or the value of the paper is called the intrinsic value, and the value which is being given by the monetary authority is called the face value. So what is full-bodied money? The full-bodied money is that money where the material value and the value given to it by the monetary authority is equal. It means where the intrinsic value is equal to the face value, that money is called the full-bodied money. Its value is derived from the commodity out of which it is made. Example, gold, silver, copper, etc. The gold coin, silver coin, copper coins, etc. are the full-bodied money where the intrinsic value is equal to face value. Let us see the second type, that is the representative money. It is the money that includes token coins or any other physical token like certificates that can be relatively exchanged for a fixed amount. There are two types of representative money. The first one is called the convertible paper money and the second is inconvertible paper money. Let us see what is convertible paper money. It refers to the currency notes that are freely convertible into gold or silver at any time at the option or the holder. There are two types of representative money. One is convertible paper money and the other one is inconvertible paper money. Let us see the convertible paper money. It refers to the currency notes that are freely converted into gold or silver at any time at the option of the holder. Whereas inconvertible paper money, it is that type of paper money that cannot be convertible into gold or silver at the option of the holder. Let us see the fiat money. It is not backed by any commodity. Rather, it derives its value on government's order. Example, US dollar. It is also known as fiat currency. It is the money whose value is not derived from any intrinsic value nor any guarantee that it can be converted into valuable commodity like gold. Now let us see the standard money. It is unlimited legal tender and is subject to free coinage. It is that type of the money where freedom is being given to everybody to mint their own coin. So the money in which freedom is being given to everyone to mint their own coin is called standard money. When I say freedom is being given to everyone, it means that it has unlimited legal tender and is subject to free coinage. When I say free coinage, it means anybody can mint their own name according to their own requirement, according to their own design. During the ancient time period, during the modern medieval time period, standard money was in operation, because we have seen that every king has their own coin. So during that time period, standard money is being in usage. At present, no country has standard money. Let us see the next one, that is token money or the credit money. It is subject to free coinage and its face value is greater than intrinsic value. The money where the face value is greater than intrinsic value, it is called token money. Example, Indian currency. Its various forms are token coins, representative token money, promissory notes, demand deposits, etc. Let us see the money bank money. It refers to the bank deposits that can be turned into money by the depositor by the use of check. So bank money means the bank deposits which can be converted into money by the use of check. Next one is money of account. It is the monetary unit in terms of which the accounts of a country are kept and the transactions are. Let us see the legal tender. It is the money that can be paid to clear one's debt. In the international market, US dollar is the legal tender money. Why? Because every country is using the US dollar for the clearance of one's debt. It is usually backed by the government's sanctions. Let us see the next one, that is a paper money. The money made up of paper is called paper money. The last one is the fiduciary money. It generally depends on the confidence which makes it acceptable by all as the mode of payment. Example, check. Person is using check or accepting check on the basis of faith and is using it as a mode of payment. So what is fiduciary money? It is that instrument which is being used as a mode of payment out of confidence, out of faith. That's all I have in this video. Thanks for watching. God bless you all. Dear subscribers, if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe the channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Meet you soon with a new video. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Bye bye.